On October 26, 1881, the gunfight at the OK Corral pitted lawmen against members of a loosely organized group of cattle rustlers and horse thieves called the Cochise County Cowboys. Though it lasted less than a minute, the gunfight has remained one of the most iconic events of the American Old West, inspiring numerous books and films well into the 21st century. The shootout took place in Tombstone, Arizona Territory, and stemmed from a long-standing feud between 5 outlaws, 2 sets of brothers among them, and 4 lawmen, 3 of whom were brothers. The immediate cause of the clash was the town marshal's decision to enforce an ordinance banning the carrying of firearms within city limits, requiring the lawmen to disarm the cowboys. The lawmen involved were brothers Virgil, Wyatt, and Morgan Earp, along with Wyatt's close friend Doc Holliday. Virgil, serving as both deputy U.S. Marshal and town marshal, led the group and was responsible for enforcing the gun ordinance. His brothers and Holliday were acting as temporary deputy marshals. The opposing group, known as the Cowboys, consisted of loosely affiliated outlaws. Present in Tombstone that day were 5 members: Billy Claiborne, brothers Ike and Billy Clanton, and brothers Tom and Frank McClary. Contrary to its popular name, the gunfight did not occur inside or beside the OK Corral, which fronted Allen Street. Instead, it took place in a narrow lot beside C.S. Fly's photography studio on Fremont Street, 6 doors west of the corral's rear entrance. The opposing men stood as close as 6 feet apart when the shooting began. Around 30 shots were exchanged in about 30 seconds. By the end, 3 men were dead, 3 wounded, 2 had fled, and 1 was uninjured. Ike Clanton later filed murder charges against the Earps and Holliday, but after a month-long hearing and a short time in jail, the men were found to have acted within the law. The violence did not end there. On December 28, 1881, Virgil Earp was ambushed and severely wounded in an assassination attempt by the Cowboys. Months later, on March 18, 1882, Morgan Earp was shot and killed through the glass door of a saloon by a gunman hiding in a dark alley. Though the attackers were suspected cowboys, they provided alibis and avoided indictment. In response, Wyatt Earp, newly appointed deputy U.S. Marshal for Cochise County, embarked on a personal vendetta to seek justice. Sheriff Johnny Behan pursued him after receiving a Tuscan warrant for Wyatt's killing of Frank Stillwell. 70 years ago, on October 26, 1955, the Republic of Vietnam, or South Vietnam, was founded. South Vietnam first gained international recognition in 1949 as an associated state within the French Union, with Saigon as its capital. From 1950 onward, it aligned with the Western Bloc during the Cold War. After Vietnam was divided in 1954, the southern portion became known as South Vietnam, officially established as a republic in 1955. It shared borders with North Vietnam to the north, Laos to the northwest, Cambodia to the southwest, and faced Thailand across the Gulf of Thailand. Although recognized by the United States and 87 other nations, South Vietnam was denied United Nations membership in 1957 due to a Soviet veto. The Republic of South Vietnam succeeded it in 1975, and in 1976 it was unified with North Vietnam to form the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Following World War II, the communist-led Viet Minh under Ho Chi Minh seized power in September 1945, declaring the Democratic Republic of Vietnam in Hanoi, sparking civil conflict in 1949, during the First Indochina War, France and anti-communist nationalists established the State of Vietnam under former Emperor Bao Dai. In June 1954, Ngo Dinh Diem, and an influential anti-communist and anti-colonialist, returned from exile and became prime minister. After the 1954 Geneva Conference, the DRV controlled North Vietnam while the SVN governed the southern and central regions. A controversial 1955 referendum marred by fraud removed Bao Dai from power, allowing Diem to proclaim himself President of the Republic of Vietnam on October 26, 1955. Diem's rule ended in 1963 when he was assassinated during a CIA-backed coup led by General Duong Van Minh. A succession of unstable military governments followed until General Nguyen Van Thieu assumed power after a United States influence manipulated election in 1967, ruling until 1975. The Vietnam War began in 1955 when the Communist-led National Liberation Front, or Viet Cong, supported by North Vietnam, China, and the Soviet Union, rose against the South. The conflict escalated in 1965 with direct U.S. military involvement, including the deployment of Marines, Army units, and a major bombing campaign over North Vietnam. By the 1968 Tet Offensive, South Vietnam had over 1 million troops, joined by 500,000 U.S. soldiers and 100,000 allied troops from nations such as South Korea, Australia, and Thailand. What began as a guerrilla war evolved into a full-scale conventional conflict. After the withdrawal of U.S. ground forces, North Vietnam launched a large-scale Easter offensive, nearly capturing several major southern cities before being repelled. Despite the Paris Peace Accord signed in January 1973, hostilities quickly resumed. In 1975, North Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces launched a final offensive, capturing Saigon on April 30, 1975, and ending the Republic of Vietnam. On July 2, 1976, North and South Vietnam officially unified as the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, with Saigon renamed Ho Chi Minh City. Although the Republic of Vietnam, or South Vietnam, was dissolved in 1975, its flag continues to be displayed by some Vietnamese exiles abroad, especially those of refugee descent in North America and Australia, as a prominent symbol of anti-communism. Since June 2002, various United States government bodies have passed resolutions acknowledging the former flag as the Vietnamese heritage and freedom flag. And 30 years ago, on October 26, 1995, Fathi Shikaki, a so-called Palestinian terrorist, was shot and killed by Mossad agents in Malta, leading to a weakening of the so-called Palestinian Islamic Jihad until its resurgence after the Arab Spring. He was on his way back from Tripoli, Libya, after visiting Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, who promised to help finance Shikaki's faction. His assassination produced disarray in Islamic Jihad since no competent successor could replace Shikaki. Well, that's all I have for this morning. If you like what you hear, leave a comment down below and subscribe. This is Stephen Luke, and I'll see you next time for another history update.